Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and we have got a brilliant guest for all of us to learn from today. It's really hard to put him into a box, though, because I don't know whether I should talk about him in the context of technology, within the context of AI, or within the context of teams performing better together and accessing the knowledge that they all need. In fact, the real answer is that he's all of these things, because he is so varied in his skills. He's so varied in the way that he sees the world from his past experiences. And of course, he's one of us as a fellow entrepreneur. So let me introduce you to today's guest. His name is Tom Franc. Tom is the CEO and founder of the NextKS Framework, which is a Slack native knowledge sharing platform built to empower modern teams with scalable AI-powered knowledge retrieval. Drawing on 8 years of experience in the knowledge sharing space and a background in localization solutions design, Tom has synthesized his deep expertise in collaboration, process design, and automation into a product that reflects how teams actually work. No mere academic theory here. This is real life, how teams work and how they can perform better. Previously, Tom served as a lead sales solutions architect at Localize, where he helped major global brands, including Sony Ericsson, leading automotive and fintech innovators, design and implement agile, automated localization workflows. With more than 24 years in the localization industry, he's known for transforming fragmented processes into scalable, elegant solutions. This guy, you can find him on stages around the world, winning global awards. He is incredible at what he does, so I'm very excited. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Tom Franc. All right, Tom, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here. Please get started with your questions.
Yeah, let's do it, Tom. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw the microphone back to you because I love all the different things that you do, and clearly the end result that it has. It's not technology for technology's sake. It actually serves a purpose. So take us beyond the bio. Who is Tom? How did you start doing all these cool things?
Well, this is my passion, basically, to whenever I see a problem, to figure out the best possible result, the best possible solution that helps people. So it's not only the localization, my original background, but also in knowledge sharing. And the solution I built basically during the last couple of months was based on my very own frustration, because you can imagine whenever you introduce yourself to a new company, to a new team, then you struggle with how to acquire the answers you're looking for. Who is the right person to ask for? So all these things, like I had in my mind for years, like, is it really solvable? Is this just a challenge that we need to deal with, or is it something that can be solved using technology? And then I realized during the time what is the power of the question and answers as the most natural way of interchanging the knowledge, and then with dawn of usable AI, how to solve this problem. So this is not just a solution that emerged immediately, but this is my answer to a long-term experience, observation, and frustration.
Yeah, I love that overview, Tom. There's one word I'm going to pick on super early. You said usable, and I'll be honest with you, that's the part that stood out to our team when we were very excited to invite you to come onto the show. I am a big fan of Slack. Our entire team behind the scenes, we all use Slack, and to me, that's what stands out is we're not talking about yet another tech tool. We're not talking about yet another thing in our already complicated tech stacks. I love the fact that it's Slack native. Tom, you've got to talk to us about that approach, because it does seem to me like you had the thought of, I don't just want great tech, I want great tech that people will end up using. What does that look like?
You can imagine, or when I explain it in the super simple terms, you can imagine like having your own private colleague, like AI chatbot, like GPT, but aware of all your company details, documentation, all your policies, or your documents, legal, infosec, everything. So you can ask questions and get answers about these things. You don't need, it's like a search on steroids. It saves tons of time. But it's not only that, because this is a standard level where most of other similar tools are basically done. But this goes beyond that, because first I try to put together the whole concept of efficient knowledge sharing, and then AI just fits in the right place in that whole solution. So the difference is that it's combined with the Slack native ticketing system. This means that whenever the documentation is not perfect, whenever the AI is hallucinating, because as we all know, it's not perfect and it will take some time to get to that level, if ever. Then there is always a possibility to actually turn your question into a ticket. Again, it's fully Slack native. You don't need to switch environment. You just create a ticket that is then automatically assigned to another person in your organization. Imagine that you are new to the team and you don't know who the right person is. And this all information is embedded in NextKS. And when it's assigned and the person answers your question, that answer becomes a part of the knowledge base, accessible for AI. So whenever there is another question on the same or similar topic, then from that point on, AI can answer it itself. So you're reducing the time that would be spent answering a duplicate questions.
Yeah, I love that, Tom. To be honest, we realize that behind the scenes, obviously, we get a lot of questions. We've got a global audience. We get questions from listeners. We have questions internally. When we hire a new team member, they inevitably have a lot of questions. And so you talk about the knowledge bank, and that's something that the more we get into the new era of AI, I'm realizing that's a powerful asset inside all of our businesses. And I feel like for people who are getting on the train early, they're realizing we need to have a catalog of all of our knowledge, all of our internal documents, all of our SOPs, literally all of our support tickets, so that we don't have to answer the same question twice or 200 times, as you called out. So all of these things are very valuable. But for companies who are realizing this a little later in the game, they're thinking, well, Tom, how am I going to compile all of this knowledge base? How am I going to compile my library? How do businesses best go about doing that?
This is beauty of the solution. You don't need to do anything. You can just plug into your existing documentation, and that's it. And the system, how it builds the knowledge, is based on answering the questions. So basically picking the scattered knowledge among the people, like the tribal, or as it is called, tacit knowledge, and turn it into something explicit that everyone can benefit from. Imagine the situation that you discovered something like tiny thing that helps you to be more productive, and you have no idea where to put it in order to share it properly with others. If you write it just to the Slack channel, then it will be soon buried after on the pile of other communication and conversations, and will go unnoticed. It might be so small that it doesn't make any sense to create extra document in your wiki. And if someone doesn't know even that it does exist on wiki, nobody will search for that. So this is exactly the place where it shines through a similar other solutions. because this helps you to collect this tribal knowledge and makes it accessible through questions when it's really needed by the others, and it doesn't bother them along the way. Only when it's needed, then it's available. So this means that even if your documentation is not perfect, then you are still able to collect and build this knowledge base on the go. And even if your documentation is not perfect, it's not polished, it might be conflicting or containing contradicting information, then this solution is basically ready for this situation when user is provided with all information found in the system, and based on the indication like timestamp and these things is able to tell you, hey, I found this, and this, but this is the most recent, so most likely this is the information you are looking for. And if you are still unsure whether this is the right answer or not, you can still switch it to ticket and ask your colleague, hey, what's the situation with that? I found several different resources in our documentation, and what is right? And he will answer, and it will basically be stored in the knowledge base, so it reinforces the right answer, the correct information. So it's kind of a self-cleaning system in this sense.
Yeah, it's so interesting hearing you say that. I think we've all been guilty at various points in our lives when we save files, for example, and we say latest. And then the next time we save that same file, we'll say actually latest, and then latest version, newest version, all of those things. So the fact that you've considered even your system and your framework saying, hey, what's the newest version? Let's have a bias towards the newer version, because that is probably the most up to date and the most accurate, which I think really speaks to one of your superpowers, Tom, which is obviously you're not just thinking in tech terms. Well, part of why I'm so impressed with what you do is that it seems to me like you love the human workflow, which is so fascinating because you're building something that builds out a technology-backed workflow. Talk to us about how the human workflow and the tech workflow work together.
It's because first of all, I was in charge of knowledge sharing job in past, and I realized how important it is to basically not to rely on documentation and on processes, but rather to how to motivate people to contribute. I've seen epic fails, for example, for knowledge bases more than a decade back, when the idea of knowledge base as such is awesome. Like everybody will contribute and everybody will benefit from the stored knowledge. But in fact, it doesn't work because of the basic human psychology. Whenever it's like asking people to do an extra task and they don't have any reward for that. It's not in their KPIs, it's not in their goals, nobody will recognize it. And whenever they solved something that might potentially help to someone else in the future, then they are already late with the other tasks on their to-do list. So it's super hard to motivate people to share anything. And especially if they don't have any system for that, they don't know where and how. So it's like beyond their intent to do anything that even themselves can benefit from. And I've been thinking for quite a time how to deal with that, and I realized that it's not really a technology. It's the nature of human interaction, and if yes, technology can support that entire process, but it must not be for the sake of technology. It must be supportive what is natural to people. And I realized that the basis of human communication lies in, or exchange information and knowledge lies in questions and answers. And because I imagine myself, for example, like the most of the development, what I've learned in the past was simply from Stack Overflow, where people were asking questions and other people were answering. But this is something that doesn't work inside companies because the community is not big enough. So it's very nice piece of technology, and you can support it with something like AI to basically replace that or mimic that community activity that makes it live, makes it running, makes it useful and usable. But in core, it's all about a natural human knowledge sharing via questions and answers. And it's built on that.
Yeah, Tom, I want to ask you this question because when you and I talk about AI, obviously the entire world, not just the business world, is trying to figure out what's the future of AI. Everybody's asking those big questions of what's AI going to be in 5 years, what's it going to be in 10 years. And what I find so fascinating about people like you who are actually building already is that you have to answer two questions really, Tom, and I'm excited to hear the way you think about it. One of those questions is, of course, you from a business standpoint, you want to understand how this technology is emerging, what's going to be happening in the future. But maybe more importantly in this present time is you're figuring out, here's where it is today, here's what the limitations are, and here's how I make it work. Given those set of limitations, you already talked about hallucinations as one of those limitations. How much time do you think about the future of AI versus, hey, I'm building something in the present, we don't know what the future is going to be, here's how I'm working around that today? I'm so curious how you philosophically think about that.
You basically answered these questions yourself. The thing is that AI became suitable and mature enough for certain tasks. And if we want to, and it's still usable with some limitations. And if you want to build something really usable based on AI, you need to embrace that these limitations, no matter what is in the future. It might be better, it might get stuck, but you cannot start building something and hope that in the future it's going to be better, it's going to be useful. No, it must be useful right now at this stage of the progress and maturity. So that's exactly what I did. I took whatever is the situation right now on the in the AI industry and turn it into something ultimately usable, even with these limitations in mind. And in the future, I have no idea. It might take a year, it might take a few years or decade. We might hit some wall that will prevent us from fine tuning it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter really. Because even right now, it's super helpful. We just need to think twice how to deal with these flaws and realize how to overcome them, or how to deploy processes and mechanisms that prevent us from over-dependency on this system. This is something that we all very gladly hand over to, like work handing over to machines, and we become dependent. But we need to be aware, okay, this is not perfect. This is like a very knowledgeable child. And if we are aware of these flaws and we have built-in processes, what to do in case it's not perfect, then this is a robust and usable solution to me.
Yeah, it makes sense. And that's why I love how many people emphasize it is a tool. It is not a replacement for so many of the things that we all need to do. That said, I want to switch gears a little bit. Obviously, here on the show, I love just strictly talking business and entrepreneurship and all of those considerations. And underlying every business conversation is metrics. And I love the fact that here we are talking about a solution that you've built and that you've brought to the world. And it's not just the tech components. You also seem to have a strong bias towards metrics and analytics. I know that part of what you're doing with NextKS is that managers have insights through the portal that you've built where they can see. I'm going to read out a couple of these that you've teased to me, is that revealing trending topics, over reliance on key personnel. Gosh, all of my 9-to-5 friends, when I hear them talk about the imbalance, Tom, across employees, that's such an important thing. And the measurable time saved across teams. Talk to us about that strong emphasis on the analytics that you've built into this.
It's essential. It's essential, and I believe it's essential to anything these days that you want to sell or adopt in your company. You should be able to somehow get the data and sell, or tell what is the value of that solution, of that tool. So these analytics are super important, and it all started with just the fact that in my solution I need information about who knows what to be able to effectively provide people with the auto assignment feature. So this is the other part of the frustration. I have no idea what is the knowledge map, who knows what inside my company, and who can help me and answer the question. So I implemented it in the solution as in form of questionnaire, like who knows what are the topics that people can help with, and how to basically interact with others in terms of their knowledge. So just using these questionnaires, you put together quite essential database of information about the knowledge. And then I was thinking like how to make it accessible, how to make more value of this information, not just for auto assignments. And then I realized, okay, this is a really crucial information that managers can benefit from, in a sense that, for example, they can rely that there are teams where there are top performers with so skilled people that it's super difficult to replace them. This is pretty normal situation, but some managers don't think about it as a potential risk. What if the person doesn't show up the very next day? Is my business in trouble or not? What about succession plans? What about planning, training, and education? And using the data, there are dashboards, there are graphs that tells you, okay, this is the level of dependency on key personnel in my organization, and I can, using these insights into a skill development programs, learning and development programs, to get better in that. There's also these, as you mentioned, these hot topics that actually collects the data from the questions that went through the system and gives you information what was the most asked questions. So this can give you a clear indication what people need for their work, what benefits them. And instead of just letting them ask the question, because AI will answer that, of course, because you eliminate duplicate questions, but this way you can fine-tune and pinpoint your learning and development programs to deliver the information exactly as it's needed by your production, your organization and environment.
Yeah, Tom, hearing you talk about these things, I really want to get inside of your founder's mind. There's so many different elements of what you've built and what you will obviously continue to evolve and continue to build. How do you decide where to focus your energies, your resources, your time? Because I'm sure you have more ideas than you do have resources. How do you make sense of what it is that you should be working on?
I will tell you from the very beginning how I started. Actually, I knew that this kind of question and answers interaction, it helps. It was empirically validated in real production environment, but I was not sure whether this can justify a business case. What is the value actually, and whether it can be somehow converted into tangible metrics. So I spent about 2 months with a friend of mine. She's a mathematician, and thank you for that. She contributed a lot. She confirmed that I'm not completely crazy. And we put together basically a model of communication in company or in companies in general. I don't want to explain every single detail of that, but this is pretty sophisticated model, and not because we wanted to mimic to the tiniest, slightest detail of that to match it accurately with the real life, but rather perform a sensitivity analysis. This means that having a bunch of parameters that this model is based on to realize what the critical or what are the critical points, the parameters that the model is sensitive to, and then quantify how much it is really sensitive on that. So if you drill down, or basically we realized that the most critical parts of that model are eliminating repetitive questions and eliminating the time people spend chasing other people when asking questions, because the standard process is, hey, I have no idea who can help me. I can reach out to my boss. Usually he doesn't know if it's like too complicated. Then I spam Slack channels with questions and hope that someone can help me. So it's super inefficient. It eats up time, not your time, but also all others who participate, who are part of that group channel or group chat. And that's exactly the scenario that we see in our Slack environments, that we have tons of messages, unread messages scattered across multiple channels we will never be able to read through, and only a fraction of these communications are relevant to us. So eliminating all these things, basically it turned out that I need to focus my solution on these two aspects and make it as user-friendly as possible.
Yeah, Tom, I didn't expect such a math-backed answer, but I absolutely love it. That sensitivity testing, I think that whether listeners are in a technical field or not, I think viewing our work and most importantly, you called it out so many times in our conversation today, most importantly, thinking about what matters to the end user and doing the sensitivity testing from their perspective, that will unveil very powerful answers across all of our businesses. So, Tom, I'm only going to put you on the spot one final time here. It's the question I ask at the end of every interview, and that is, as a fellow founder and entrepreneur, you obviously have experience not only the technical, the business, the strategic, the tactical, the mindset stuff in the journey as well as everybody else, but you've obviously learned and you've grown through those experiences as well. So with that said, said, I am so excited to get your best piece of advice for listeners, knowing that they're both entrepreneurs who are still waiting to take action and entrepreneurs who are figuring it out as they go. What's the one piece of advice that you want to leave them with today?
It's difficult to give out any advices because I don't feel myself to be there yet. I'm just in the half of the journey, but for me, it's mostly about believe in yourself and be persistent.
Yes, important pieces of advice. And Tom, you said that you don't feel like you're there just yet. You're in that messy middle. That's the truth for all of us. I'm sure if we talk to Steve Jobs, even later on in his career, I'm sure he would have admitted, yeah, I'm still figuring things out. So I love that. Be persistent. That right there, that's the key piece of entrepreneurial advice that we all need to take on board. So Tom, this has been a very fun conversation for me, and I hope for all of our listeners worldwide. At this point, if people want to go deeper into all the great things that you're building, where can listeners find you? Where should they go from here? Feel free to drop those links on us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy. It's the web address nextksframework.com, where you can find all the documentation, white papers, case studies, feature description, and you can find there also a very nice interactive calculator where you can estimate how much this tool can save you, depending on the size of your organization and other parameters. Plus, also, we have implemented a voice assistant there. Full AI assistant and voice assistant, and you can ask any questions related to NextKS, and it will be happy to answer all of them.
Yes, and listeners, you already know the drill. We're making it as easy as possible for you to find that link down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. And hey, try that voice agent out, because guess what? It is backed by a very powerful knowledge base. Knowing Tom as much as we all do, having interacted with him here in today's episode. So definitely check out those links down below. We're also linking to Tom's personal LinkedIn. So if you're in the field and you want to continue the conversation with him, don't be shy. Most listeners are. I know this as a podcast host, how few people take action. But be one of the ones that adds a brilliant entrepreneur to your circle. So check those links out. Otherwise, Tom, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much.